eraser pad and a triangle to help you draw your vertical lines. And then this is Canary Trace, which is the yellow color, or you can buy the white colored trace, same thing, whichever one you prefer to draw on. And then the best way to set it up is you can take your scale and your trace roll, and if you want to cut a perfect piece, you just kind of line it up right here, and you just pull up, and it just cuts a nice piece of trace. Okay. And then you line up your T-square along the edge. You go ahead and put your trace paper along that edge, tape the top two corners, and then just tape the bottom two corners. And you're all set up. Now, you don't have to start with this, but you can. The eraser shavings just gives you a nice layer so that when you draw on your drawing, you don't smudge everything. So you kind of just sprinkle this on your paper, right? And it gives it, so when you're rubbing your hand, it creates a layer of friction so your graphite doesn't smear. Now, as you're drawing, when you're drawing a plan view is you're looking at it from one side or from the top. And
so let me say something. So I told you guys the model doesn't have an up, down, right, or left, or anything like that. But in terms of demonstration and in the future, you're gonna have to do a plan. So we're gonna just talk about the top for now, but think about your models as not having a north or a south. So let's say this is the top, okay? Now, what Ricky is gonna do is kind of like imagine cutting through this model, right? And then looking at it from the top. So that's the plan. What are you cutting? And then what's underneath, okay? So think about this being like a laser, and then cutting your model through it, and then looking at it from the top.
They're just showing,
So,
is it just one?
Just show one of like what's under and then what is being cutted.
But they're not, it's not like one plane here, one plane, it's just one, right? They're just in one cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so you're gonna try to pick, when you do your model, the spot that has generally the most information, and that's where you're gonna cut it, okay? And then once you cut it, let's just say I do it right through the middle or so. I do it right through here. You're gonna start measuring, so. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
So the scale, it's just to measure, okay? Don't use it to cut it because the edge is you're gonna ruin the edge. So use it to measure only.
Okay, so you want to give yourself your defining edges almost, so that way you know if you need a bigger sheet of paper or not, because sometimes they might go over. So measure from one point to the other. It's about 9.5 inches. This is all rough. So you're gonna mark 9.5, and then I lost it.
Yeah.
I lost where I was looking at. This is good. This is how you should design your model. If I can't find where it was,
Measure it again.
whatever.
Just do like a rough one.
Like 7.5.
So look at it this way. Sit it that way. Yeah, so maybe sit your model right next to you. In this case, since we're drawing, we're gonna look at it the same way, okay?
Okay.
And then do like a construction line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So construction lines are your best friends. It's basically you're almost making a grid for your drawing. It's a very light line. You just kind of stroke your pencil right across. And then
So you notice he's doing his horizontal lines using the parallel, and then the vertical lines using the triangle. And then you want to extend those guiding lines.
So right now I kind of just did this box. That's kind of like your drawing platform. And then from there, you're basically just gonna measure. So say you cut it through here. So you're gonna find the piece that you're cutting through. So the farthest side on this side would be this stick. But, yeah. So you're gonna measure, you're gonna try to find the right point. So if this was your bottom here, and then this left box is your farthest box, you're gonna try to measure from this point in, and then measure up to this point. And that's gonna get you from, that makes sense. So,
like chunk the whole thing into more basic shapes to help you measure.
yeah, kind of thing. I do it that way. I mean, if you find a different way, fine. But I mean, that's kind of relatively what it, because imagine this is sitting in a box, this box, and this corner is like right here. You're measuring to find those points. So say this is 2.5 to this corner, and then from the stick, it's about 3. So you're gonna go three. And then some people like to use their construction lines later on. I don't necessarily suggest this because they help you a lot. So I try to put them in early, because then that helps you line up everything as you draw. So now I know that this portion of the drawing is going to be situated within this box. So now,
Would it be wrong to write in like empty space so you know, like as a marker, like on the paper?
you could.
Yeah, you can.
You can do whatever your drawing convention
Really
is.
lightly, or you can, or
But
that
don't
way,
leave those words
Yeah.
when you turn the drawing in.
or maybe just start with one part of the model. So
Yeah, I'm kind of just sitting right here
Mhm.
drawing this.
okay.
So then, say this was like that, then you cut it here, so,
Like the thickness.
yeah, this point. Sorry, I'm very accurate when I try to draw. And you're not you're supposed to be, but whatever. Here, so. 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so this point right here that I just drew, that's that point right there. Or sorry, this point right here. So now you have a base point, so now you can measure everything a lot easier. So this thickness is, say, 1 inch, and then you come out That's rough. Now I'll show you guys thickness, line weights. Alright, so right now this shape is starting to form right here. So you don't have to do this right now. You can do it later on because you want to give everything a cut line and then a line weights lighter than that. So your construction lines should always be the lightest. If you have like a 7B or 7H, 6H, that's what your construction line should be. If you're doing cut lines, it should be somewhere in the B range. So 2B, 3B. You could be crazy like me, I like 9B. That's like almost like charcoal. But it does give you a nice look to the drawing.
So even though it's a plan, you want to read it with a dimension, right? What's closer to you is going to be a thicker line. What is cutted is going to be hatched. So think about that in like the thickness And how can you read those plans? So farther away, those construction lines are lighter lines. So stick with your pencils. Don't use ink yet. Just stick with your pencils, and that way you can use them better.
Okay.
Rick is not gonna draw the whole thing, but he's gonna show you just a part of it, and how these plans are gonna look like a little bit.
And then a nice trick when you're drawing your lines, as you roll the pencil in your hand as you go across, so that way your lead stays the same size, and you don't get disjointed drawings or lines. They all stay straight and nice. Okay. So right now, since I gave myself that edge earlier, and now I have the stick that I drew, so if you guys want to come a little closer and check it out, you can see that the construction lines are a little bit lighter. This is that piece that I cut through right here. And then the stick, when you're looking down, it's a little bit under the cut. So it's not being cut, it's farther. So that's why it's a little bit like medium. The cut line is darker, and all the construction lines tend to be lighter. And then those rules apply to everything else. So I'm gonna cut through this plane, so that means this little thin rectangle piece that I cut over up here is gonna be as dark as this one. And then this plane right here isn't being cut, you know? So you're gonna draw that square, you're gonna see that square up here somewhere. It's gonna be probably as light, it's gonna be a little bit darker than the stick, but lighter than the cut line. And then all those rules follow throughout the plan. Does anybody have any questions before I move to this section?
I do.
Yes.
What if you're looking at it from an angle and then you lose like one part of the scale that you don't see, you don't draw that?
What do you?
Like if you're looking at it from here, but let's say you don't see that stick like that's facing Anna, you don't draw that, right?
Well, no. So you're not looking. So you're trying not to look at it from an angle. Imagine you took this and just cut it with a knife, and all of this is gone,
Oh, okay.
and you're looking at it from above. So you're gonna see everything that you see right here. Imagine all this is gone, and it's just cut right here. So you're gonna see all of, I don't wanna draw on this. You're gonna see all of this guy, this guy, this guy, this square, stick, and a cut through here. Okay?
Imagine of it like a cake. So if you have a cake right here and you cut it this way, horizontal way, you're gonna take out that layer and then you're gonna see it from the top, and then you're gonna draw what you see.
Yes.
And what has
Whatever's
been
left.
cut and what is left, okay? So if you cut through certain, so we have spaces, so we're not gonna have to cut through everything. So one piece is in the bottom, one piece is on top. So whatever you cut is gonna be a stronger line. Whatever is under, depending on like it's closer to the cut or farther away, is gonna have a thicker line. Okay?
And then, you have a question?
No. Actually, what are those things you have on the tracing paper? Those little dots?
These are drafting dots. It's just another form of tape, or you can just use tape, doesn't matter. I don't suggest using duct tape because it'll ruin your board and the drawing, especially when you peel them off.
Masking
This
tape.
peels off nicely, masking tape. Painter's tape is debatable. If it's a bad painter's tape, sure, it's good. If it's a good painter's tape, it'll rip your drawing. Okay, and then a section has the same style to it, but instead of cutting it, so if this is the way you set up your model and this is the way you cut it for a plan, then the way you cut a section